that does kind of co-locate with that circulation here. So this is going to be something that we need to monitor here very closely. If we can, let's go back to the Queen City of the Teche camera here, because we're starting to get some clearing developing, and we may be able to start to see something in the next few minutes. So if we can take that full for a second, I just want to see if we'll be able to see anything, and then we'll go back to radar. Obviously, some very, very heavy rainfall right now, and where that circulation is, just to the south of our camera location here, that is going to be moving up towards our camera site, and I'm just looking at it, trying to see if we have anything that's showing up. The roadway you see on the far right-hand side of your screen, you may see some of those headlights. That is Lewis Street. So that's going to more towards the south. There are those low bases of this cloud. That roadway that you see right there at the bottom of your screen is Admiral Doyle, headed towards the south and east. But some very, very low-hanging clouds here. And we're going to have to see if anything shows up from here. They just issued another tornado warning now. This is for that one that I was telling you about with Intracoastal City. So we have 2 tornado warnings. Let's quickly go back to radar just to set that scene, and then I want to go back to our Queen City of the Teche camera. You're going to see that warning pop up here very, very shortly. It's going to be for Iberia and Vermilion parishes. This will include Intracoastal City, because there it goes, of a very strong circulation evident here, and this is going to go to the south and east of Intracoastal City. This is more of a water spout that's moving on shore. So for the time being, I'm just going to focus on this New Iberia one just to update you. New Iberia, you're actually covered by 2 tornado warnings right now. The primary one that's coming into town right now, the secondary one that is to the south near Intracoastal City. So we have our Queen City of the Teche camera popped up there, and what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and move this around and just see what's going on out there around the New Iberia area, because we are going to be watching this camera very, very closely to see if anything shows up here. There are those dark clouds. That's going to be where, if there's a tornado off in the distance, we're going to see it from that camera point. So let's take our Queen City of the Teche camera full real quick. I want to show you what I'm talking about here. You can see right off in the distance, I'm going to zoom in. And it's going to kind of get fuzzy here because we have some drops of water on the lens. But that dark base, that is what we call a wall cloud. And that's indicative of a rotating air within this storm. And so we're going to have to monitor this very closely. As it stands right now, I don't see anything showing up on our camera, but that could change here as that circulation gets closer and closer. If we can put the radar in that small box and leave this camera up, that would be great, because I want to keep the camera shot up as much as possible, since it is getting closer to our camera site here in New Iberia. We have a very tight circulation right in that coming up to New Iberia now, and it's just creeping closer and closer to you. So again, we're looking at around 10:55 in the New Iberia area. If you are in New Iberia, you need to be in that tornado-safe area. That is the lowest level of your home, away from outside windows and away from outside walls. Both of these warnings that we have in place, there are 2 tornado warnings, one for Vermilion, one for Iberia. There's actually 2 tornado warnings in Iberia Parish right now, one for this storm that you're seeing on your screen right now that's approaching New Iberia, and another one behind it. There you can see that circulation there getting closer to New Iberia. We're going to be switching back and forth between that camera and this, but we have those 2 warnings in place because there are 2 circulations. There's that one near New Iberia. Here's the other one that was warned for by Intracoastal City. It is weakened some. It's more likely a waterspout moving on shore. This could very well be a tornado on the ground here coming into New Iberia. And that's going to be, a big concern. This is a largely populated area. New Iberia, a large town. And let's go back to the camera. There you go. look at just how you see this lowering, and I'm going to step on camera here because I want to explain what's going on. So if at some point we can take me on camera, I want to show you what with the camera, on camera with the camera, because we have that low-hanging wall cloud there that we're watching. So this is what I'm talking about. Right in here, this is that wall cloud that is closer to the ground. Now, all of this is spinning in the atmosphere. Currently, I don't see anything extending down to the surface, so that is some good news. But we're going to be watching, look at that lightning strike, we're going to be watching that area very closely. It is coming directly to our camera here. If there's going to be a tornado, it's going to show up on this camera right in that area. So this is what we're looking at right now. It almost looks like a pancake. So you have this low-hanging wall cloud there, and then you have the rest of the storm. All of this working its way towards New Iberia. If we're going to see anything, it's still kind of out over some marshy areas, but it's going to be in this area here that we're going to look for a dark V shape in the sky. Right now, I'm not seeing anything, but we're actually kind of taking some power hits here at News 15. The lights just flickered. So that's another thing we're going to be monitoring too. I'm going to have to check radar and see what's going on around town if we're getting some of those rough storms as well, which they will be moving up towards our area. We just took another one there. So you may lose us for a second, too, as we're taking power hits as these storms are moving in. But we are looking currently here at the New Iberia. It looks like this is going to go just to the south of our tower camera. Again, that's at Admiral Doyle and Lewis Streets here, where we are looking at this base of a wall cloud, a low-hanging deck of clouds that oftentimes spin and could produce a tornado. So that's what we're going to be monitoring for here. What is that going on the side of the screen here? Let's go right. I'm going to zoom in to this part because there's some fast-moving clouds here. And this may be something. Yeah, in fact, I think we're starting to see a little spin here. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Look right here, and you're going to see these clouds kind of coming around like this. Oh, wait, I think we got one on the ground. Hold on, guys. I think we got something on the ground here. I just saw it pop up for a second. All right, so here we go. Right here, I think we have a tornado on the ground. Yes, we do. There's a tornado. We have a tornado on the ground just south of New Iberia. There it is, extending down from the cloud. You can see it stretching down to the ground here. Look at that. There is your tornado coming right out of the cloud. And this is going to be just to the south of New Iberia. This is a confirmed tornado on the ground, folks. There it goes. There's the cloud. That's the debris that's showing up. And this is going to be around the New Iberia area. It is currently crossing Highway 90 as we speak. This is going to be around just south of Lewis Street, Jefferson Trace Boulevard area. That is your tornado. A live tornado here on News 15. We are tracking this currently. And if you are in the New Iberia area, you need to be in that tornado protection area. Lowest level of your house, there's two of them. Look at that. There's another funnel. We got two tornadoes on the ground doing damage right now. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. This is a very serious situation, folks. This is a live view of a very strong tornado. Get to your emergency shelters now. Not a joke, folks. If you are in New Iberia, get to that emergency area now. We are not joking here. This is a very serious situation. So, let me go over here. There goes that tornado. That is, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. It is doing a ton of damage, y'all. Look at this thing. Let me get to the weather service. Wow, that is a huge tornado. Sorry, folks. I'm trying to get with the weather service now. We are seeing some very strong winds, obviously, with this. Power flashes going off, as you might expect with this tornado. We are seeing that damage. If you are along Admiral Doyle, oh my goodness, that is, oh wow. That is a huge tornado. Folks, you need to be in that tornado precaution area now. Look at this thing. That is a monster tornado right now, live from our Queen City of the Teche camera in New Iberia. We have not seen something like this. I can't tell you when. We are going to watch this pass just to the, that is to the east of our camera. And, just, folks, this is a very sobering image right here. We are watching this tornado. There's debris in the air. This is the first time I've actually covered this on live TV, a tornado like this, of this magnitude. We are just continuing to monitor this. If you are by Highway 90, this is now crossed over Highway 90. It's going up to Admiral Doyle Drive. This is going to be impacting areas. Parish Road 201. We're talking about Bayard Street, Nelson Canal Road, up towards Main Street. This is going to go on the eastern side of, oh my gosh, it just hit something big. And we just lost our connection. This may be the last image we have from our tower camera. I think we might have lost our tower camera. What I want to do is, if we can, in the back, switch back to radar, but leave this image in that bottom box, because I want folks to see that this was a tornado on the ground. It's still on the ground. This is not stopping here, and it's going to continue to do damage as we go through the next few hours. That is the last image we have of that tornado. We're going to show that to you again. It's going to be in that bottom box area, but this is a very powerful tornado that is moving through New Iberia as we speak. Highly populated area just to the east of Admiral Doyle and Lewis Streets right now. This is headed up towards Main Street, and this will be headed just to Laurelville Road in the next 20 to 30 minutes. So if we can get that image back with that tornado in the bottom right-hand box, we are going to keep that. And we've lost our signal, so we're not going to have that actually live stream anymore. But we do have that tornado. That's what it looked like as it was coming through New Iberia just a few minutes ago. New Iberia right now on the eastern side of the area. We want you to be in your tornado precaution area as we speak. You needed to be there a while ago. This was just a scary situation. That's what we're seeing right now. I can't tell you for sure. I think this is still on the ground, but that is a very powerful tornado that just went through the eastern sides of New Iberia. We do have a crew on the way, so as soon as this gets cleared out, we're going to try and bring you some of that damage assessment. But my goodness, this is a very, very scary sight. Obviously, one that we never want to see, but certainly one that we feared today it would happen. We have that tornado warning that is continuing here until 11:15 now. That is for that secondary tornado warning. This one, the original one, goes until 11 o'clock. We are going to be continuing to monitor this. We're waiting to see more information from the National Weather Service. Obviously, I think they have to extend this warning past 11 o'clock. We're 4 minutes out from that. But if you're in Laurelville, on the eastern side of Laurelville, you need to be in your tornado precaution area because we are seeing this live. We saw the tornado go through New Iberia. It has done a lot of damage. That image that you see at the bottom of your screen was the last image we got before we lost connection at our tower camera site at Admiral Doyle and Lewis Streets atop the Community First Bank building. This looks to have just gone into New Iberia, too. It looks like it's kind of bent back around, so this is going right through Main Street here. And you can see that that circulation very, very tight there. This is a terrible situation. Hopefully the damage isn't too bad, but I fear that we are going to see a lot of damage out of this. That right there where I circled is where the tornado is currently located, and I'm assuming that, yeah. So this is what we call a debris signature. You see how everything is red around it? Inside of that, we have a green, bluish tint. That means there is a tornado on the ground. It is a confirmed tornado. This is going to continue to move off to the north and east here into Laurelville in the next few minutes. This is a very serious situation. We can pinpoint where that tornado is and what damage it is doing currently as we have been watching this move in from Vermilion Bay and Weeks Bay, cross over Highway 90, and it was doing incredible damage across the area. That tornado will continue to move off to the north and east. There's a new update, and you can see that tornado is still being picked up by radar right here. I'll circle it for you. Laurelville Road, and it's headed right for Laurelville. So this is not done with population. Laurelville is a big populated area too, and that is one that this storm is going to head right up to next. So we have some serious issues going on here. New Iberia, you're likely without power. Hopefully you have us on your News 15 app on your phone and you're streaming live. We're going to give you the update as we get more, but obviously we are watching a very serious situation here in New Iberia. And Laurelville, you are next. We are waiting to see I'm expecting a new tornado warning to come out here very shortly because of what we've been seeing. We have the damage, we have the debris showing up on radar, and this first warning expires at 11 o'clock. I expect them to extend that from this storm. But I don't want to get completely caught up in this all the way. We do have another warning anyway, that's back to the south and west that is coming into portions of Iberia Parish, once again following directly behind this storm, and it is possibly another one that's going to be causing damage too. We don't have any confirmation that this is on the ground, but we do know about the one in New Iberia. We have crews on the way, and just to let you know, if you're looking at the bottom of your screen, that image that you see on the bottom right-hand side, that is our last image before our camera went out. We lost, obviously there must be no power there. We've lost the connection, but that is the final image with all the debris in the air right now. That's what you're seeing there in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. We still have that tornado warning, though, that continues for New Iberia. And I think we're going to coming out, this time, because of the report, because we have that image, they're coming out and confirming that there is a tornado on the ground with this storm. So that is going to be the new update here when they come out with that warning, which the National Weather Service just said they will be issuing here. Let's go back. The debris signature has gone away, so that's some good news. Maybe this is lifted up, but it could also mean that it's not impacting any structures anymore. We could have a very strong tornado headed right for Laurelville. So if you live in Laurelville, Sugar Oaks Road, Danielle Road, Laurelville Road, Daspit Road, we are looking at that potential for a strong tornado to move your way as well. This is not a joke. This is not us just, pumping all this up to make it sound scarier. We have confirmation. That image in the bottom right-hand side of your screen is that confirmation of that tornado that moved through New Iberia 10 minutes ago. So this is a very, very scary situation for the New Iberia area. Hopefully we don't have any injury reports, and hopefully we don't have any too major of damage coming out of New Iberia. But based on what I saw, that was a very powerful tornado that just moved on through. We're also going to be watching for in the next few minutes, Laurelville to be in the path of this too. So Laurelville, you are next up. We know that this has produced damage. There could very well still be a tornado on the ground. We just got the new warning out, and it will be a confirmed tornado observed that is going to be moving to the north and east here, affecting Laurelville. So if you are in Laurelville, you need to treat this as though the tornado is still on the ground. Even though I can't show you that anymore, even though we don't necessarily have that image that we were looking at before and the debris signature and all of that, we can tell you that this has produced tornadoes before. We had it on our live stream, and that it will likely be continuing to produce a tornado. So if you're just joining us, it's just after 11 o'clock. We're on the air because we have a really serious situation here headed for Laurelville, a tornado that we know was on the ground. You see in the bottom right-hand side of your screen, that is a tornado on the ground a few minutes ago from our Queen City of the Teche camera in New Iberia atop the Community First Bank building before it all went out, before we lost power. A tornado doing damage, a very strong tornado doing damage in New Iberia, right around the Admiral Doyle Drive area, just to the east of our camera location, which is at Admiral Doyle and Lewis. Also, We are tracking that potential for more tornadoes. Real quick before this gets closer to Laurelville, I want to show you we have other storms that we're watching. There's another tornado warning that includes Vermilion and Iberia parishes for this circulation here that's working its way basically on due course right back to New Iberia. So you're not done with this if you're in New Iberia and you can still hear us. There's another potential tornado headed your way. We are also watching a few other storms off to the north that have since kind of quieted down, so that is some good news. Not that we need anything else around here, but there are more offshore, too, that are building in behind these storms, and those could very well produce more tornadoes. Now let's get back to Laurelville, because this is of most concern right now. The tornado, I'm going to call it a tornado because we saw that it was there on the ground. It is approaching you right now. In the next 5 minutes, you are going to have possibly some very strong winds and damage done by a large tornado that is moving through the area, right into Laurelville as we speak. And that is, you have to be in your safe space right now, folks. You cannot be out and about. Make sure you're in that lowest level of your home, away from windows, away from walls, and bathroom, under a stairwell, something like that. Even bring helmets to protect you from this flying debris. This is a very powerful tornado, one we don't typically see here in Acadiana, that did a lot of damage already in New Iberia. We know that for sure. We saw it live on our camera here before our camera went out, which is the last picture we have. That is the still frame there that you see at the very bottom of your screen. That is the tornado doing damage right at Admiral Doyle and Lewis Streets, just beyond that. So we know that there was debris flying in the air. We know that we had this big tornado on the ground, and it just came right through New Iberia, right on live TV about 10:45, and it's now pushing into Laurelville. So if you are in Laurelville, you need to be hunkered down. You need to be in that safe space, away from those outside windows and walls. This is a scary, scary, scary situation. We do have a crew on the way to New Iberia since this tornado has finally passed through there, but there's more dangerous storms back to the south and west. I will show you those once we get past this issue with Laurelville. It is now on top of Laurelville. So with the latest update, you can see that the circulation has reached Laurelville. This is what we are talking about right there. That is that circulation going across Laurelville, Laurelville Road, Danielle Road, Sugar Oaks Road. If you are in Laurelville, you need to be in your safe space. I hope you are already. Bronson, Oob, Laurelville, Tony, these are all areas that could see a tornado moving on through. This warning goes until 11:30 for this storm, but there is another one following right behind it. So this is going to continue to move off to the north and east into the Atchafalaya, and we are going to see another system following behind it. Actually, they just canceled that warning. So we will see this. We should see this one drop off. There it goes. So we're down to one warning. That is good news. The warning that we have, though, is not great news because it was a strong tornado that moved through New Iberia that has produced significant damage in the New Iberia area. We saw just tons of debris flying up in the air. We caught it from start to the last frame that we can show you, which is at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. That is what the tornado looked like when our camera went offline, and I assume that power went out in the New Iberia area. So this is a very, very dangerous situation for Laurelville and even out into the Atchafalaya. You know, if you're out by King Wallet and Parish Road 169, this is headed your way. Harold Landry Road, this is about to cross over you. In fact, at one point we had 2 tornadoes showing up on our camera. So this could be, and I'm kind of seeing signs of that happening again, where we're seeing actually 2 rotation areas. There's one here near Castillo Road and another one right over Laurelville. This may be the original tornado, and this may be a new one that's trying to form up as this one weakens. So we could still have, and it looks like that's exactly what's happening, this one starting to take over as this storm cycles, meaning that it goes through these ups and downs and really begins to weaken and then strengthen and then weaken again. We saw this all morning long with storms. This is the first one we've seen that has been caught on that we have been able to confirm because we had our camera there in New Iberia, and also radar picked up that it was a confirmed tornado on the ground. And so we are continuing to follow this storm as it continues to move out towards the Atchafalaya. It has weakened some, which is good news. Hopefully, I can check here on our what we call correlation coefficient, and that shows us if there's debris. I'll take you back. Watch this. Here's how we can tell by radar that there's a tornado. That yellow dot right there, the beginning of it hitting buildings, hitting debris. Then we go to there. Boom, it turns into greens and blues. That is the tornado in New Iberia, and then it moved off to the north and east and began to weaken as it approached Laurelville. There's still some indications, maybe there's some debris flying about here, but nothing that shows what we were seeing there in New Iberia for a tornado on the ground. But this is a very, very scary situation here for our friends in New Iberia and also in Laurelville. I'm hoping for the best there, but this was a very terrible situation that we watched here on News 15 just a few minutes ago. So just to reset, what you're seeing on your screen, and I'll widen out, is a wide view of what we're looking at right now. A lot going on in the weather world today. We had some flooding concerns earlier in the northern parts of the area. Our attention has now shifted to the south, where tornadoes are becoming a big threat. We watched one go through New Iberia live on News 15. The image you see at the bottom right-hand side of your screen is of that tornado. That is the last frame we have as it passed through New Iberia before our camera went down. Right now on radar, there's a lot of showers, a lot of thunderstorms. I think the greatest potential for severe weather is going to be right now from Lafayette southeastward. That's where we're seeing this line really starting to form up and where we've seen multiple tornado warnings just within the past few minutes. Still seeing a decent circulation on velocity, meaning that we have those winds that are spinning about in a counterclockwise fashion, but that it has weakened from where it was just a little while ago. So this storm is going to continue to move off to the north and east here, cross into the Atchafalaya. Hopefully this is starting to weaken and we will see things settling down. But a very, very scary sight. Again, Laurelville is now done with this storm. There is no more danger for Laurelville. There is no more danger for New Iberia. This tornado warning will continue, I believe, until 11:30. Yes, and of course, we showed you live on News 15 that tornado as it came through New Iberia, so we can confirm that there was a tornado on the ground. This is not something that, we want to hype up and, try to scare you of, but this was live. That picture you see, that was of that tornado before our camera went down. This is the last image we had there of that. So, scary situation here. The good news for New Iberia and Laurelville is the threat has ended for now. That does not mean it's over because there have been other storms back to your south and west that have been trying to rotate. We're going to watch those here in the coming hours to see if that continues, if we see more of those storms doing that. But as it stands right now, the only game in town is this storm that's just moved through Laurelville, and it does appear to be tightening up here. Once again, we're starting to see more of those colors returning to radar, and what that means is we may be seeing a tornado trying to strengthen. I don't see anything on our debris tracker, so we're not, at least as it stands right now, we're not looking at anything on the ground. But what we are looking for is the potential of another big tornado here headed out into the Atchafalaya. And, again, just for proof of that, that bottom right-hand side of your screen is what we saw. A giant tornado, a huge one, going through New Iberia. So a very sobering sight here, one that no one ever wants to see, but we did have to witness that live on News 15. So right now, things have quieted down outside of this storm. We have a few more of these storms that are trying to form up across the area. I think from Lafayette southward is our severe threat area right now. Back to the west, we'll watch, but it really seems to be kind of situated there in that New Iberia corridor, right through Iberia Parish for a significant tornado that moved on through. And it looks like we are getting some pictures in from viewers, so I'm going to try and get some of those in for you too in the next few minutes because we're not the only ones that were watching this. But we definitely saw some very strong strong tornado going through the area, and lots of heavy rain too. So the rain is not ending in New Iberia. You're about to get more of that heavy rain pushing on in. Lots of lightning, lots of thunder. I can show you that here. Most of it associated with that one storm that produced that tornado, but there's more of these storms back to the south and west. The tornado warning continues for New Iberia, but really it's for that storm that's now out in the Atchafalaya. I think at the next update, which should be coming down any minute from the Weather Service, we will see that this warning gets trimmed off and mainly focused on portions of St. Martin Parish. And I did forget to mention this has been extended into St. Martin Parish. It's no longer just an Iberia Parish thing, but St. Martin Parish. This would include Butte-LaRose. This would include the Henderson, just to the east of the Henderson exit there. These areas need to be in their tornado precaution areas. I know Butte-LaRose, there's not a whole lot of structure out there to some of these buildings. My sister lives down there. So I want to make sure that y'all are in a safe place, in a building that is sturdy and that will, sustain something like a tornado hit, because what we saw go through New Iberia is not an EF0 tornado. It's not one that just blows a couple of shingles off your house. That is one of those tornadoes that we look at that we typically see in the Birmingham area, what happened north in Shreveport, that type of stuff. So we have a crew on the way to go check out things. They are continuing the tornado warning. They've taken off the confirmed tag on it because we've lost any confirmation from radar or our sources. Our camera's down, and we won't be able to show any more of that. But they have now taken Laurelville and New Iberia out of that warning, and this is now mainly just for St. Martin Parish here with that tornado possibility. Again, a very strong circulation showing up. Look at these pinks and oranges. That's the wind's going away from the radar, these grays coming towards, and I can just show you what our radar is indicating with that. We're looking at 80-plus mile-an-hour winds in some cases. I don't know why it's showing 34 there, but I can tell you these orange colors right here are 80-plus mile-per-hour winds that are just ripping on through, and we saw that come through New Iberia. So next up, Butte-LaRose is definitely within the realm of possibilities here. I'm trying to get it to show up on our map. But it, for some reason, isn't. It may be just the map not picking it up correctly. But I can tell you Butte-LaRose exit, Henderson exit, those are going to be the areas that we watch for this to go to as it crosses into the Atchafalaya. It's going to get a little grainy here because we're away from that Lake Charles radar. But this is still a very significant circulation, possibly a very strong tornado on the ground right now, moving into portions of St. Martin Parish. In fact, I can show you this is the border right here of St. Martin and Iberia parishes. So we are going to be watching this continuing to move off to the north and east at a fairly rapid clip. We're looking at 40 to 45 mile per hour movement there, and that tornado, I'm going to call it a tornado still because after seeing what it is, this is exactly what we were worried about. Long track, strong tornadoes were a possibility, and this seems to confirm that today from the Storm Prediction Center that we had that exact thing move through New Iberia. That you see at the bottom of your screen, bottom right-hand corner, is the last frame we have from our News 15's Queen City of the Teche camera atop the Community First Bank building before it went offline because of that tornado. So we're going to continue to monitor this here going forward. This is certainly a very, very scary situation that just happened there. And hopefully, as we get more information, we'll find out that the damage wasn't too severe and hopefully no injuries. So we'll have more on that for you in the hours ahead as our crews are able to get down there. But before they can even start assessing that, we have more storms actually moving into New Iberia right now. And so I want to come back and focus on that just because we know there's damage. People may not know what's headed their way. We're not looking at any severe threat with this storm. There's nothing to indicate that. This is just a bunch of heavy rain, maybe some lightning and thunder. The biggest storms are now out over Vermilion Bay, Weeks Bay, West Cote Blanche Bay. Those are the areas that we're going to be monitoring for that. If you're in Lafayette, it looks like things have really cleared up. We're still seeing a few showers and storms left over, and there's still some more to track back to our west that we'll be following here. But as of now, there's no severe threat for the area. It's really confined to Iberia Parish, south and east of there, and St. Martin Parish that we are going to be monitoring for that where we see the potential for that tornado to continue. That tornado warning in effect until 11:30. We'll see what the Weather Service does after that. But as of right now, we are going to continue to follow this tornado warning until we get more information about what's going on. The latest scan, though, shows that it has broadened out, but that doesn't mean to let your guard down. If you're in Butte La Rose, if you're along the levee roads there in along the Atchafalaya in St. Martin Parish, this is a very, very dangerous storm. A tornado like this we have not seen here in quite some time. And this was a very scary sight to watch live on the air if you were following us here on News 15. So this tornado is now moving off into the Atchafalaya. Butte La Rose still under the gun with this. And we have this warning going until 11:30. And we know for sure it has done damage in the past, right in the New Iberia area. So certainly a very, very scary situation that we've been following here for the past 45 minutes or so as this storm came off from the Gulf of Mexico and made a beeline for the New Iberia area, because this is, once again, something we really don't see that often around here in Acadiana. So that is that storm there. It is the only tornado warning we have currently. But we are going to be monitoring for more as we head later on into the day. You can see there's more offshore. All of these storms forming up here are going to have to move into the coastal areas at least. So we're talking from St. Martin, Iberia, St. Mary parishes, maybe parts of Vermilion, still dealing with that tornado threat as we head through the next few hours. It does appear that maybe things are settling down here if you're, say, from Lafayette back to Lake Charles. I think the colder air is starting to arrive, and that should help things quiet down. But right now, we are going to be watching very closely for that potential of a tornado to continue here, moving through St. Martin Parish. Again, that warning goes until 11:30. So we have another 10 minutes on this that we'll be watching for that tornado potential to continue. So what we're going to do is we're going to follow this. We're also going to try and get more information from you from our crews out in the field. In the back, if y'all hear anything about anyone set up or if y'all have any information for me, please just tell me in my ear and I will be sure to pass that along. But, at least for the next 10 minutes, we have this warning. Once that happens, it's likely going to head out into NWS New Orleans' territory, which is Assumption and Iberville parishes there. So we'll watch as that crosses out of our area and we can kind of say goodbye to it. But if you're in New Iberia, you have some lightning, you have some thunder, you have some heavy rain. You are not in threat for a tornado again. This is just some, rough weather that's moving on through. Not what you needed after that. Okay, so they just put out the report for the tornado. That's what that was that you heard in the background, the National Weather Service. So officially, they have confirmed, and we saw it there live, that there was a tornado that moved through New Iberia. We do have, as I mentioned, crews on the way, and they are going to be helping us out, bringing you what it looks like there in New Iberia once they make their way down. And that may take some time because it's still raining there and this is very fresh. So obviously the roads are going to be probably covered in debris. And, there's no power there, so traffic lights are not going to be working. In fact, we have the ability to show you what power outages we are seeing. So let me put that on. In New Iberia right now, Iberia Parish is reporting... let me get my little dropper. Right now, 500 people without power, but I expect that to increase here as we go through the next few minutes and hours as we get more information moving through the region. And as we get more into the newsroom, too. And again, if you have any pictures or if you have any reports, please send them our way. We'd like to get them out and help to get these reports out to everyone and make sure that, we know where the damage is and we know where, to avoid and to help our fellow people out, our fellow neighbors out there. So let me go back to reflectivity here, which is how we typically see radar. Lots of heavy rain in New Iberia right now, some lightning and thunder. I'll bring you back to this tornado warned storm. that it's still showing some signs of rotation, but it is starting to weaken. And I think the story here going forward is, we got to talk about, what happened in New Iberia. A very scary situation. That image in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen is the last image that we have of that tornado coming through town. That was just to the east of our New Iberia Tower camera, which is located at Admiral Doyle and Lewis Streets atop the Community First Bank building. Obviously, it no longer is functioning because we've lost power and we've lost connection to it. But I do think that this warning will be allowed to expire at 11:30, and then we'll see where we go from there, if we're going to stay on and kind of cover things, or if we'll dump out and maybe join you for News 15 at noon. But if y'all hear anything about that, too, in the back, just let me know. Right now, we still have that tornado warning in place, though, until 11:30 here. And we are going to be continuing to follow that for another 7 minutes before this warning is eventually expired, and we can say good riddance to this storm that has produced a considerable amount of damage in the New Iberia area. So I hope for everyone there that if, this did affect you, it's not too bad, and that we don't get any injuries out of this. But I fear, we may hear some of that later on, just seeing what was going on with our tower camera there. Dan, also, if you could, I had it rolling on that, so if you could just stop it, stop recording.
There we go.
Thank you. I'm also joined by Storm Track 15 Chief Meteorologist Dan Romano, who's here helping out with this coverage. It's just, Dan, if you want to take over for a second.
Yeah, we're getting reports, they're unconfirmed, that there might be damage to the New Iberia Medical Center. We're, obviously Michael Crowley and one of our photographers are on their way to New Iberia. They were in Abbeville as things kind of unfolded, and more or less are chasing the storm as it pulls out of the area right now. So as soon as we hear from them, we're going to get a better aspect on exactly what's going on. This is a shock to the system for a lot of folks out there. I mean, I literally woke up at, we were together until
3 o'clock this morning.
Close to 4 o'clock this morning. Went home, fed my cat, woke up this morning, jumped in the office, and then I heard the alerts going on through the radio, through the, national, or the alert system going off. And man, it is a cold, ice cold bucket of water to the face this morning. It really is.
Well, and we got it from start to finish. I had the tower camera up. I was waiting for it to come to the camera, and we saw it form. We saw it drop down. It had 2 tornadoes with it at one time, Dan. We could see them clearly defined before it broke out into that big thing. We do now have a new tornado warning for Iberia, St. Martin, and St. Mary parishes. So we're going to stay on the air with this. This one's going to go until 12 p.m.
And unfortunately, this one's looking towards Franklin.
Right. So one of the problems we have down here, you can see right here is what they're warning on. And this is exactly what we saw with the one that went through New Iberia. It started out as these little pixels here. Now, unfortunately, we're on the edge of radar, so we're not going to get a very clear shot. But this is the area that we're monitoring here for a potential tornado. And at this point, I would go ahead and say, it is a tornado, Dan.
Yeah, so this is what we're looking at right here. Again, these storms are moving to the north at about 35, 40 miles per hour. Is that the assumption that we're going with?
This one is moving 40 miles an hour, so I'll put a little track on there for you.
Yeah, and it's probably moving, perhaps clipping the eastern side of Franklin. Still, though, Highway 90 is a pretty busy corridor, and there's going to be a lot of traffic impacted by this. And as these storms lift up to the north, eventually they're going to cross the busy highways of Interstate 10 and so forth. But there's another thing we got going on right now.
They expired the tornado warning that was the New Iberia warning.
Okay, so this one up to the north is done. Now we have another one coming in from the south. And, some of these tornadoes easily spawn over water. They're the water spouts, basically, and then they lift up to the north and, unfortunately, impact a large population along Highway 90. This is out of St. Mary Parish and then moving back up towards Iberia Parish right now. Can you zoom out a bit for me?
Yes, I can.
So we can get a better aspect of this storm. And, again, and then put on reflectivity. You see a good amount of lightning associated.
Right there, that's going to be the tough one.
There it is, right there. Okay, and then try to zoom back in and see if we can hit any of the roadways, because there's going to be a larger population that this tornado could be impacting. So, again, we have Bayou Teche right here along this area. and then lifting up to the north. 40 miles per hour is not a slow pace. So this is going to be on your heels pretty quickly, probably within the next 5 minutes or so. This is going to be popping up to those larger populations of Franklin and Baldwin. Now, again, it's not a lot. We're not talking about, tens of thousands of people, but there could be clusters of neighborhoods here, where some of those small homes, mobile homes, could be absolutely devastated.
And I just want to, so earlier today we had a big circulation near Ville Platte. We just got a report from the public that there was an actual tornado near Ville Platte earlier.
Okay.
So they have a photo of the tornado on the ground from there. So we know there was one up there today. We have this other one down in New Iberia.
Okay. Jeez. This is just, this is unfolding tragically, unfortunately. We really hope that there aren't any injuries, but, with a day like this where we're dealing with a number of tornadoes across numerous parts of the area, it's just hope, fingers crossed, that the worst does not unfold.
Also, New Iberia Police Department put this out. A tornado has touched down in the Southport subdivision area. Several homes were damaged and people are trapped. Police department, fire department, state police, and sheriff's office are on scene. Rescue efforts are underway. All civilians need to avoid this area. Do not go sightsee in these regions.
Yeah, the worst thing that you could possibly do is getting in the way of emergency personnel. And I know some people want to see the damage and check things out for themselves, but, obviously, the most important thing is to try to get everybody safe and secure and just try to pull people out and let the emergency personnel do their job. They have the equipment to really allow for this to occur. Can we show a little bit more of the velocity, storm velocity with this storm system, and then see? Wow, it's getting a lot more defined right now. That's a nice couplet that we're seeing with this storm system. With this particular storm. And again, this is lifting, and originally we were thinking towards the Franklin area. It looks like it's actually going to stay west of Franklin towards Baldwin. Let's try to zoom in and see if we can get any of the specific neighborhoods or streets in that area, because not a lot going on
is
here.
Not going to have a whole lot just because it's all marsh here.
But look at all these neighborhoods that are probably within about 5 to 10 minutes away from this potential tornado. Now, furthermore, there's going to be a good amount. Obviously, there's marshy area here, but there's also a lot of taller trees, and that's going to be obstructing your view from this tornado as it approaches, because it's not, the cloud deck is fairly low. So, it kind of limits our ability to see pretty far on the horizon. So you might step outside in Baldwin and you see some, thicker clouds and, a little bit of rain, and you think, this isn't really that big of a deal. But this tornado is lifting up to the north at about 40 miles per hour. That's a pretty good clip. And it's not going to be too long before it closes in on the Baldwin vicinity, probably within the next 10-15 minutes, if that. So,
yeah, I mean, I got to zoom out because it's moving so fast here, but just to give you an idea there, Dan, we're looking at 11:38.
Yes, so we got
minutes.
8 minutes that it's going to be barreling through Baldwin. That's not a lot of time. So please, take shelter now. I can't reiterate that enough. Get into your safe place. If you, live in a sturdier home, it's one of those homes where there are no exterior walls in a room. So that would be a closet, maybe a bathroom. If you're in your bathroom, grab a couple pillows and just put them over you. If you're in a mobile home, man, that's a tough situation right now. Just try to hunker down, stay as safe as you.
I would say if you can, get out of the mobile home.
You got 8 minutes, get in your car and just try to get out of it.
Go to a friend's house.
Yeah, and drive either east or west, but do not drive due north. So, Highway 90 probably up towards the east would be a better bet. Or, I'm sorry, Highway 90 up towards the west would be a good bet. If you're driving down to the east from Baldwin towards Franklin, you're going to run into some heavier precipitation. Yeah, this is a tough situation that we're seeing unfolding right now. Unfortunately, we lost our tower cam in New Iberia from the first tornado, but there is some heavy rain.
We're going to have video of that eventually. I think they're cutting it right now for us, so we'll be able to replay that for you.
Okay. Well, you know what? Right now, I think that this is, unfortunately, this could be a life-threatening situation unfolding in Baldwin right now. Let's try to zoom back in and see if we can talk about any of the specific streets here. This is a main drag. What is that exactly?
Well, you have Highway 90, which is the orange line. And
that is Highway 90.
Yeah, and then you have Main Street, which follows Bayou Teche there.
Yeah. And this is, there are several hundred people that live here in Baldwin. You can see how many neighborhoods are tightly packed in this area. And then Franklin is just to the east of that. So it looks like the tornado perhaps might go in this vicinity right here to the west, maybe clipping the west side of Baldwin. Again, so we're 6 minutes out now from it potentially moving in. And there it is. And now it looks even more defined.
Yeah, I was just seeing if we have any debris. We had the debris signature, obviously, on the New Iberia one. It's still kind of cloudy right now, but as we get closer to Highway 90, we might pick up some stuff.
Furthermore, we're farther from the radar, site, Baldwin, so now we're maybe an extra 500 to 1,000 feet up for that, signature to show up in terms of, not precipitation, but, different parts of... we call it the coefficient.
Correlation coefficient. I struggled with it earlier, too.
This is what happens when you get 4 hours of sleep, on a day like this. This is incredible. And a lot of lightning associated with this storm as well. Let's try to go back to that storm velocity because, unfortunately, that might be our best chance to see this. This does look like a rain-wrapped tornado as well, which is going to make it that much more difficult to see.
And I just got a picture from our Al Abair here of the surgery center in New Iberia completely damaged from that system.
That is not good.
We're going to be getting a lot of those pictures here soon.
Yeah, again, so this is most likely where the tornado is located, just to the south of Baldwin. It is headed right in that direction. We also have Franklin just to the east, and you might be able to see it better from Franklin. But the problem with this storm is it's rain-wrapped. There's heavy precipitation that is falling with this tornado right now. And as a result, it just obstructs the view. And so it might look like, just your typical heavy thunderstorm rolling through the area. But unfortunately, it does look like there's a tight enough circulation with this storm that we could be dealing with a tornado closing in on the Baldwin area. Now, I do want to say that we're looking at the circulation from about 4,000 feet above. I believe that's what it is, close to maybe 4,000 or 5,000 feet. So there might not be a tornado actually touching the ground, but all indications are that there is a growing likelihood that we could be dealing with some tornadic activity here on the ground just south of Baldwin, closing in on Highway 90 right now. So if you're in Franklin and you have to drive up to the west, just stop. Just do not go. Wait this storm out. If you're in Baldwin, shelter, or if you're in a mobile home, get in your vehicle and get out of town, but drive east, drive west. Do not drive down Highway 90 down to the south.
It's actually crossing 90 right now.
It's crossing 90 right now. So at this point, you're losing minutes. You got about 3 minutes before it goes into Baldwin. I think at this point, you just got to hunker down and stay safe.
Yeah, and Dan, it's actually splitting Baldwin and Franklin, thankfully, at least the main parts of town. It's going to come up here. I believe this is Main Street that heads into Baldwin there, and I guess it continues as Main Street, but little tiny population center of Katy there, kind of in direct path of it.
Yeah. Yeah, you can see it's almost running parallel at this area right here south of Baldwin. It's running parallel to Interstate 90 there, or not Interstate 90, U.S. Highway 90.
I don't see anything yet.
Nothing crazy in terms of the coefficient, but we're still, again, it doesn't look like your typical tornadic thunderstorm, but it does, this is a good indication that it could be a rain-wrapped spawning tornado across parts of just around the Baldwin area, now pushing up to the northwest of Franklin. So this is moving at a pretty good clip, about 40 miles per hour. So we're roughly 2-3 minutes away from it impacting our friends in Baldwin right now, and that's very unfortunate considering what we saw already in New Iberia.
And I do want to show this. There's no official warning on this yet, but there is some indication of rotation starting back here just to the south of New Iberia. So that is going to be something we need to watch going forward. Because these things are spinning up so quickly, Dan. It's like you can't even keep it.
Yeah, this is definitely very scary what's going on here, though. The other thing is, this is kind of something, we talked about this for the last couple of days. This is not like an event that just propped up out of nowhere. This was something that we expected that would take a long period of time. And with that, sometimes you have tornadoes to just go right over the same path. Adam and I were watching this last night as it unfolded in Voiles Parish, where it seemed like we had one tornado pop up and then, 20 minutes later, it looked like another one went directly over the same community. Now we're getting, that's a very defined couplet with this radar signature right now, and unfortunately, it's looking more and more likely that this is a tornado as well. So again, this is almost due west of Franklin, now southeast of Baldwin, but again, this is lifting up to the north at about 30 to 40 miles per hour, and you can see that we are dealing.
So it just
there it
split
is. It probably is moving through the Katy area right now. This looks like a bit of a marshy area, which will give the population of Baldwin and Franklin a bit of time to catch their breath. But unfortunately, if we could zoom out just a little bit and maybe drag it up to the north, areas in this vicinity right here, right along the Bayou Teche, are going to be dealing with some concerns as well. And then eventually this is going to slide farther up towards the Atchafalaya.
And Dan, once we get past these areas along the Bayou Teche, we're going to roll the video of the tornado in New Iberia. I want to do that after we get done with this because, all this, once you get to the Atchafalaya, it becomes, not populated.
Very sparsely populated.
But,
there's not a lot out there.
want to get at least through the populations here before we'll do that. And I'll call for it there, Drake, in just a few minutes.
But this is unfortunately a really dangerous situation that's unfolding, and that's,
Let me, I'll put you, I don't think we're going to get too much from a storm track here because it is so
There's
unpopulated,
nothing out there, but
But that's a general trajectory that it will be taking here.
All right, let's zoom back in because, again, we still have not only a lot of streets in that area, but still the possibility that population can be impacted here. You have these small little neighborhoods, Oxford, Camperdown, Linwood up to the north, and although circulation isn't quite as tight as what we were seeing before, you could see it's still, fortunately, it looks like this thing has moved probably over an area with the least amount of people that could be impacted, where it split the difference between Baldwin and Franklin. Now moving up to the north, it looks like it's going to be parallel to Bayou Teche here as it scrapes by Linwood, but then we got another batch of population on the east side of Linwood.
Yeah, and then once you get to that, there's a few more of these subdivisions, as you mentioned, and then you jump into the Atchafalaya there. So still a little ways to go, but I will say it does look like it's broadened out. We're not seeing those very bright colors. It's kind of hard to see, so that is beneficial, in our book.
Are we seeing anything with the correlation coefficient at this point? Because if they're
it's pretty messy out here. Let me back it up and see, just in case. I'm not really seeing... Maybe a little bit in there.
In this area right here. But that would be the time that we would see it, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see a whole lot. Let me see what that is.
It sounds like they just canceled it.
They are continuing this warning for Iberia, St. Mary, St. Martin until 12 p.m.
Okay.
But it's just
that's
radar
another 20
indicated.
minutes or so.
Yeah. Radar indicated tornado with that.
Yeah. I mean, there is a... good amount of reflectivity. But again, I mean, if we're looking at the tornado potentially being in here, you're just going to be soaked and really have the rain is going to obstruct your view.
What was so crazy with the New Iberia one is that's exactly what I thought was going to happen. And then all of a sudden it cleared out and we could see the wall cloud. And then a few seconds later, boom, it just came down.
Yeah.
So that may be what happens again here. You may be in the rain, and then you may get a little clearing, and then it's right on top of you.
Yeah.
There's not going to be much time for you to look for it.
No, and that's exactly what we're looking at right now, unfortunately, because, these thunderstorms are heavy, but... unfortunately, there's just that looks a little bit more defined than what we were looking at just a couple minutes ago. So if anything, maybe it looks like it's going through a bit of a cycling process. That is a strong inflow coming in from the south, and those darker greens are indicating that we are seeing the wraparound. So I would say this might be I don't want to say a bigger tornado, it's just a bigger area of circulation. Because again, this is a few thousand feet above sea level. So with that in mind, usually you see the circulation becoming tighter, closer to the surface. We just don't have a radar beam that close to it at the surface to see a more defined band of circulation. But again, this is going to continue to lift up the Atchafalaya right here in this area, and there's still a number of homes in this vicinity. So please, if you're east of Linwood, north of Franklin, northwest or northeast of Baldwin, I should say, hunker down. This thing is going to be right over you within the next couple of minutes or so. And again, this is going to continue to lift up to the north at about 40 miles per hour. So this is the area that we are concerned about the most. Now, granted, it is not a very defined area of circulation, but it is closed in enough where we're seeing, again, a good amount of inflow, winds largely from the south, and then right in this green area, we see that little bit of wraparound where they drop down from the northeast. So that is something we're keeping a very close eye here. I'm going to step off the screen here and close, see if we can zoom in a bit here to a few locations, and it does look like it's actually moving out of that pot. Oh, no, it's not. Oh, boy. So this is along, if you're along West Atchafalaya, Bayou and Basin, the levee right there. So all of these neighborhoods, there's not a lot of homes there, but there are those that do exist, and they are more susceptible to flooding than tornadoes. So unfortunately, they're probably lifted up on stilts, which actually makes them more susceptible to tornadoes. So this is why we have concerns about these neighborhoods that are closer to the bayou and the Atchafalaya, because of the fact that, to avoid flooding, a lot of these homes are lifted up on stilts. You get the wind that goes underneath those buildings, they could just be like a yo-yo tumbling down the roadway. So that's why a lot of these homes in this vicinity here could be very susceptible to something like this. Now, it does look like, fortunately, that we are seeing a little bit more of a broadening in terms of rotation. But that said, nonetheless, it's still an incredibly dangerous storm, and now we're getting on the tail end of it. So probably within the next 5 minutes or so, we're going to see that precipitation tapering off. But again, we're still going to hold on to this tornado threat for a while. A lot of lightning being associated with this storm system. Obviously, you can see that, but that is a signature that we are very fearful of right now. And again, this is moving northeast of Baldwin. This is due east of Jeanerette, and unfortunately, some of these neighborhoods here are more or less starting to clear out in terms of...
I think we're getting into the Atchafalaya now.
But eastern neighborhoods here, this is Martin Ridge Road, right by the levee. So once it goes on the other side of the levee, then I think we're in the clear right now because, again, we don't see any roadway over here, and this is more or less marshy land.
That's all the Atchafalaya, all of its tributaries that run into the Morgan City area. And actually, that's going to cross into St. Martin Parish again, that little area. So you have Iberia, and then you have the
there's Iberia,
of
and then
St. Martin.
Yeah.
Well, you also have this part of St. Martin, too. So you have two, it's split by Iberia Parish.
Yes.
So you have, it's a crazy situation out over the Atchafalaya there, but it looks like this is going to be, I think there's like Fish Island in Iberia Parish that has a few homes like on stilts like you were describing, the camps.
Yeah.
So that's going to be kind of in that area too. But outside of that, this is more like a waterspout at this point, going over so much water. Speaking of, there's
now we're looking at more concerns about the possibility of tornadoes and waterspouts moving up from the Gulf of Mexico and impacting some of the coastal areas before eventually sliding up into a more populated area.
I think when you're ready to, we have the videos.
Let's pop that up right now.
And of the tornadoes. So Drake, if you can get that in the back. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. So here it is beginning. This is what it looked like when it first started. And then it grew from there, and you're trying to move radar, you're trying to keep that in frame, and this thing, look how fast it's moving too, Dan.
Yeah, that is that's what we call, it's almost like a stovepipe tornado, and you can see another vortice behind it.
That was the second tornado that came out of it. And at that point, it's like, we're having
and this thing looks like it's intensifying as it's kind of closing in. But that is a fast-moving tornado.
Look at that. It gets both of them combined right there.
And there we saw power outages. You could see some buildings.
And then look how big this thing gets.
Oh, man.
Yeah. It's just a very sobering sight to see a tornado like that moving into a very heavily populated area on the eastern sides of New Iberia.
Yeah, there it looks like it weakens a bit.
And you can see all the lightning flashes too, but then you're going to start seeing power flashes here. I apologize that I left it out of the frame, but that right there.
Yeah, and there it's growing.
That's a huge tornado. And there goes some power flashes. That's just that's when it's crossing 90 at this point. And then it just keeps going, and it gets bigger and bigger. And then eventually you start to see that, the debris starting to get lofted up. Multi-vortex tornado. We don't see these around here, Dan.
No.
You know, these are what you typically see with Birmingham or Tuscaloosa or Oklahoma City, not, you know, New Iberia, Louisiana.
Yeah, and that is a very strong tornado, and it is moving.
And then look at this. At this point, I mean, that is a very, very terrifying image. I mean, a huge tornado. Look at the horizontal vortices going up through it as this thing just keeps getting bigger. I mean, look at the size of that funnel, Dan.
Yeah, and then also you could see the vortices behind it as well.
I mean, that is just a startling picture. Look, there's another mini spin up of it, multi-vortex tornado. Just look at all that. Look at the debris flying through the air at this point. And then it just keeps growing and, you know,
yeah,
getting
the width
bigger.
of it just gets larger. Yeah, absolutely.
It's humongous. I mean, goodness gracious. You just continue to see this thing grow and intensify. And then you just start to see all the debris flying up from the buildings. Now we're getting closer to Admiral Doyle here, so this is about to be the end of it, where we lose the connection.
Oh, man.
And there goes the debris, and that's it.
Oh, no.
And
Okay,
so now we have some other video.
Else.
This is viewer video of it approaching. So this is when it first started out, and you look at the lightning behind it. I mean, that's just a scary picture. Imagine driving along as those tanker trucks or that pickup truck and seeing that. Look at the power flashes. I think this is, you know, headed away. That was going towards New Iberia. This is coming into New Iberia from a different angle here.
This looks like it's headed right towards this guy.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, we appreciate the pictures and the photos, but, you know, don't go out and put yourself in harm's way to get them. There you go again, from start to finish, that tornado as it moved through the area. We captured it live on our Queen City of the Teche camera in New Iberia. That's atop the Community First Bank building there at Admiral Doyle and Lewis. And, you know, you're watching it there replay. And we were tracking this in real time. It is a very sobering sight to see. You don't expect to see something like this. You know, around here, typically we may see one little tiny funnel or water spout, not this monster gargantuan tornado doing so much damage out there. And we've already had the reports from the surgery center there in New Iberia being badly damaged. Highway 90 obviously is going to have some damage on it. Hopefully nobody was driving on 90 during that time, or even Admiral Doyle, any of these streets, Main Street in New Iberia. Lewis, it was east of that area. Our camera is located at Admiral Doyle and Lewis Streets. And so you're watching this pass just to the east. The blue flash you see there is that power flash that happens when it hits those transformers and they blow their fuses. And so we're just watching this tornado continually push through the area, get bigger and bigger.
By the way, this is earlier. We just want to read. This is not live.
This is not live. This is recorded from, I think, 10:45.
Yeah, from 10:45 to 10:54 before we lost the signal.
Right.
So this particular tornado that we're showing right now is actually from an hour ago. But that said, there are other tornadoes that are trying to push through the area, especially to our east.
And we want to show you this too, because this is the type of tornado we can see today happen again. That's the environment we have in place. And we don't want to scare you, but we want to prepare you. And if we see more of this, you know, this is what we could have seen down in Baldwin and Franklin, you know, with that storm that came on through. We don't have any reports from there, but, you know, that is something that we're going to have to, you will follow in the minutes ahead.
And it could be, to be completely honest, Adam, this is the first, you know, I'm watching this for the first time on the air. I did not see this tornado roll through this morning. And it is, man, it's tough to watch.
No, it's very sobering, you know, because you're sitting there and there's nothing you can do. You're trying to, you know, the best way you can inform people that this is what's happening, this is what's going to affect you, your homes, your families, your businesses, and you can't stop it. It's a force of nature.
And the thing is, you know, it happens so quickly. A lot of people do not realize that. They think that, you know, hey, look, we got a tornado warning, you know, let's get out of here. You know, these things move so quickly, and they can just spit out debris and create damage even away from the actual vortex itself.
Yep. And that's why we told you today We really wanted you to pay close attention. That's why all the schools closed down. That's why, all the businesses were closing down from the governor's offices. And by the way, Governor Edwards did issue a state of emergency from last night's storms. I'm sure he'll issue another one for these storms, to cover our parishes as well that were affected. And as I mentioned earlier, in case you missed that, we did have a confirmed tornado report from Ville Platte, the Ville Platte area. According to the Weather Service, let me see if I can pull that up real quick. They have, the public reports a tornado in a field just west of LA 29. That's 5 miles northeast of Ville Platte. So that was after the storm moved its way on through the Ville Platte region. So hopefully, I don't think we had any damage reported in Ville Platte, but I know that it tightened up and became very strong just to the north of there. And it looks like we're about to get a flash flood warning.
Yep, that has been extended. Let's see.
That's actually my report there from the tornado that. From Iberia Parish Sheriff's Office, we do officially have one injury from this storm that they know of. I did read their message a little while ago that they have people trapped in homes in some of the subdivisions. And so they are trying to get in there. And again, if you don't have to be in New Iberia, do not go there. Let the sheriff's office, let all the public officials that need to be there take their time and get into those places so that we can, get people out of their homes. And they are asking for people to shelter in place at the present time. And a command center is being set up at New Iberia High School. So we're going to be getting more information from them through the day today as this rolls on in. Again, this happened around 10:45 this morning that we saw the tornado touch down in New Iberia. And then it went through about 10:54 when our camera lost connectivity as the tornado passed by. And so we're just stuck here with that lasting image of it doing damage to buildings and just hoping and praying, this one injury is the only one that we have. But I fear just, this isn't a typical EF0 tornado that passes by and, there's a few shingles off. This was a substantial tornado, very, very strong tornado. And I'm just hopeful that we don't see too much come out of this, but I fear that we will.
Yeah, and we have crews heading down there, and they're going to try to get a better perspective of what we're seeing.
Yeah, I think you said Michael Crowley is actually headed out. And what you're looking at right now, video of the tornado earlier. Again, this is not live. This is viewer video sent to us. This was earlier around 10:45 to that 11 o'clock time frame that we had that tornado passing through the New Iberia area. Still, just to update you, we do technically have a tornado warning here in place for Iberia and St. Martin parishes. There's still a little bit of spin to this, but there's not as much as we were seeing earlier. So I think this is going to be allowed to expire at 12 o'clock, and we will be done with the tornado warnings.
Just out of precaution, if you're along State Route 75, Bayou Pigeon Road, State Route 997, there is still a possibility, even though the circulation doesn't look nearly as impressive as it did a few minutes ago, that this could be headed in your direction. Again, these storms are moving at a pretty good pace at about 45 miles per hour. And this is, then we're moving into Iberville Parish, would be just outside our viewing area.
Yeah, it's going to take it into Iberville and Assumption parishes there, which also is part of the National Weather Service in New Orleans. So that'll clear Lake Charles's duties out of that. Just for reference, we're not the only ones that are going to have a really bad day or have had a really bad day. There is now a moderate risk of severe weather out to our east that includes New Orleans and Slidell, Mobile, Alabama, Gulfport, Mississippi, Hattiesburg, and you can see the tornado warnings that are popping up. To be honest, it could have been a lot worse. If this had timed just a little bit more, a little bit later, like models
2
were
hours
suggesting,
even beforehand, it would have been night and day.
Us, that could have been more across the area rather than just one significant. So as it is, we've had quite a day, Dan. We started the morning off 5 tornado warnings before this one, before these, and it's just. It all perked up here with daytime heating, which is exactly what we were fearing. would happen. Unfortunately for St. Mary and Iberia parishes, we can see that there are some of these supercells still offshore. You can see the little spins
There's
here.
the other one, yeah.
But we don't have really good data. We're so far away from the radar site that this is mid-level rotation, and we can't tell if this is at the surface or not. So until we get something that is fairly substantial that shows up, we may not know if something, is on the ground or not, and we may get some more tornado warnings out for St. Mary, Iberia, and Lower St. Martin parishes. But as it stands right now, I think the severe threat for us is coming to an end gradually, especially if you're from New Iberia to the north and west. We are starting to see that cooler air working its way on in. There's still a lot of rain in New Iberia, some very heavy rain.
Yeah, and a lot of the thunderstorms that we're seeing out towards the west in Crawley and Kaplan and, Lafayette, that those are, I don't like to use that term today, but they're garden variety thunderstorms. They don't really have the severe components.
Right.
I mean, if you just look to the thunderstorms still impacting parts of New Iberia, Jeanerette, Franklin, Donaldson, they just look more ominous. And those are the storms that are going to be more likely to reach that severe threshold. And unfortunately, if we could zoom out here just a bit, you can see that we still have to worry about those storms coming in from the Gulf of Mexico.
Right. If we can get this, because I think the cold front is coming through Lafayette right now. So if we can get that front to push all this out, we'll be done, which, we were thinking maybe 1, 2, 3 o'clock this afternoon. It may happen a little bit sooner.
Yeah,
they just expired that tornado warning.
Yeah, so this is expired, but again, all this moisture is getting pumped up here in this direction.
Okay, so some new information. This is from Dacia Hughes with the New Iberia Police Department. Montaigne Street is closed. We reported that residents are told to shelter in place. But also, New Iberia Medical Center is not accepting patients.
Okay.
So you cannot go to New Iberia Medical Center if you need medical care. You have to go somewhere else. Back to you, Dan.
Yeah, again, this white line here, everything east of the white line, we're still under the gun. And then everything west of this white line, although we're still dealing with the possibility of thunderstorms, the severe threat is very, very limited, not much of a concern right now. So, that's what we're looking at this time frame.
It's been a rough morning out here, Dan, and I'm hoping that we see things calming down in the next few hours, and that we don't have any more tornado warnings.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of us here in Lafayette have a connection, some connection or some family, Baton Rouge, but especially New Orleans. And now we are basically going to see this continuing to impact those areas over the next several hours, because not only do we have enough instability with these storms that already exist, but as it gets later and later in the day, we're going to see some sunshine and really, especially across the eastern portions of the state, really allowing this portion of the atmosphere to become much more unstable. And that's only going to provide more of an environment for these storms to continue to fire up and unfortunately become more and more severe. So, obviously what we're seeing unfold right now, this is tough to watch. But again, it does look like we are seeing improving conditions to our west right now, and that's going to continue. I'm going to step back off the screen here. It's 12 o'clock. We're supposed to get our show going on right now.
News 15 at noon is going to be, we'll be still kind of in storm coverage here. I think we're going to be going out to some of the reporters. I know Taylor is getting set up, and she's going to help us.
She's going to help anchor it. That's nasty looking.
Yeah, we got a couple of those storms that we may have to come back on for and let you know about. But at least for now, New Iberia, there is no severe threat. And I really want to focus on you guys because y'all took a really big hit here with that tornado. The worst of the weather is now to your south and east. The tornado passed, I'll draw the line for you, right through here. That's the path of the tornado. And the worst of it is now south of where that tornado came through. Jeanerette still seeing some very heavy rain. No concerns of tornadoes as of yet. That could change. Obviously, we have some difficulties getting down into St. Mary Parish here because we're so far away from both Fort Polk and Lake Charles radar. But, with the tornadoes, the tornado we've seen today and the other circulations, these things are so monstrous that even though that we're so far away, we can still pick them up, Dan.
Yeah, absolutely. This is